my lovelies, welcome back to my channel and a brand new video. Today's video is something that I put in my notebook as one of the list of videos that I'm going to be doing. So for today's video, the old phone is back. I'm going to be reading some scenarios and different situations at bad care homes. Let's get started with the first one. Now, actually, just before I do that, I want to mention that I'm not going to mention any names of people, care homes, etc., etc. I'm not doing that. I don't want, it's not a name and shame. I just want to mention some scenarios and talk about it because obviously it was one of my video ideas and I've got quite a lot on here ready to go. Okay, so the first one is about an elderly lady resident, and she had dementia, had meaning she's no longer with us. Okay, that's what I'm saying here. She kept calling and calling for the nurse. She saw uniform and thought everyone was a nurse. Obviously, you know, you get carers, team leaders, nurses, that kind of thing. But she sees uniform and thinks, oh, nurse. So she was calling and calling nurse, and there was carers walking up and down the corridor, and they didn't go in there. They didn't go in the room, and they wrote in their notes that she was fine, that she had a good day, she ate all her food, and she had a lot to drink and had personal care, etc., etc. But what the carers failed to notice, and team leader and nurse failed to notice, that when the family last visited her, they had installed a hidden camera in her room. And it turned out that all 4 hours of that day, no one walked in and seen to her once. No one had gone in, so no carers had gone in there, no team leader, no nurse, nobody, for a whole 4 hours. And that whole 4 hours, between that time of, well, no one going in there, when the manager of the home got there the next morning to go and see her, because she liked going to see this particular resident. This particular resident had she found her dead. Basically, she had found her dead, and she had straight away questioned all the night staff that were on that night, and you know, the morning staff who have started that morning. What's going on? You all were on that night shift all those hours, those whole 12 hours, and not one of you went in that room. And I start my shift and I walk in and I find her dead. What is going on? Now, at this point, when I was reading it, I was totally lost for words. I had no idea what to say at this point. I was in total shock. Obviously, you know, the care home was shut down. They wouldn't keep it open after that. There's just no way. There was one carer during the time in the morning who did go in that room, and they just assumed the resident was asleep. They knew this resident was under their final few days, and they knew this resident was on their way, if you know what I mean, basically. And you're meant to every so often go in and check on the resident to make sure that they're still alive, basically. How else do I put that? And a carer in the morning did go in that room, and they were told at the handover that they don't have long. So they're in their notes, they've got end of life. That's the right words. I couldn't think of those words. And yes, they were all told, the morning staff, that she's on end of life, and only one carer went in and assumed, oh, she's asleep, and went in, looked at her, said, she's asleep, I'll leave her to it, don't want to disturb her, and walked out. And that was it. And it took the manager to go in and go, oh my goodness, she passed away. But nobody knew what time it had happened, because nobody went in there. And, you know, I'm turning the comments off for this one, just because I just don't think I should have comments on. But that I would have to say is one of the worst scenarios, and I'm glad that there are places out there who are the total opposite, that where they have the staff that actually care about their role and that actually want to be there. They're not just there because it's their job. They genuinely care about that person, that human being. Doesn't matter about their condition. They still care about that person. And they know, whatever the condition of that person, that that person also has feelings. And for the whole night shift, particularly the 4 hours, one or two went in on the night shift, but to not go in, you know, for 4 hours, none of them, you know, they lied. Everyone on that night shift had lied to their boss and everyone and said, oh, we went in there, we fed her, we made sure she had a drink, we gave her her personal care and all the rest of it, etc., etc. They all had said, yeah, we all went in. But the evidence was on the hidden camera that within the whole 4 hours, no one went in there. No one went in there. And why take on the role of team leader, carer, nurse, whoever, if you're not actually in it? You know, the manager at the time was so angry and embarrassed with what had happened and so ashamed that she was gutted that she didn't even recognise that it, you know, things were going bad for a while. But she obviously should have spoken up and said to her staff, look, you need to keep an eye on. But surely they know to do that anyway. But they didn't. They really, really didn't. So that is scenario number 1. Scenario number 2 is this home was rated a really low star rating. And I thought, well, why is that? You'd think it would be good being in the location, and it was location doesn't mean anything. If you're good at what you do, you're good at what you do. It doesn't matter where you are. I've learned that now. I'm not saying the location. I don't want to give away any hints. I don't want anyone to work out what it was, because I just don't want to give too much away. But they had a lot of agencies coming and going, and there was this one man who was told this resident has their personal care, and he was reminded that their oral care, you know what I mean, and was told that they like to have a bath 7 o'clock every evening, and then do their teeth at past, so it gives you time to get them ready with their pajamas and slippers and all things like that. And they said that when she's in bed asleep, she likes to have her door open, because when she was a child she was abused, and obviously when she was a child and abused, it was by a family member who would lock the door, and the thought of having her door closed frightened her, which, you know, so you naturally, as somebody who cares, would go, right, so we keep the door open. We know not to close it, but this guy, this agency, read all the notes, read it all, but he read all of the dietary needs and things like this. He read the hobbies and interests of this person, because he wanted to get to know her, not as a resident but as a person, which I loved that. I think that's lovely. But he didn't read the important, well, they are important, but the really important notes of, not closing the door because of the abuse that she had from a family member. And he had to keep the door open even when she was to get changed and have her personal care, but have it where they're round the corner from the door, so that when you're walking past, because it's all about privacy as well, and then dignity and all the rest of that. And he was told to be careful. But what the home had failed to tell him was, not only was she abused and she hates having the door closed, but they didn't tell him that she hates men and can't have a man in there. And he wasn't warned. He walked in, she screamed, she kept stepping away from him. He had no idea why that she was doing that. You know, he went to run her a bath, and you've got to get consent from the resident first if they're happy to have help with getting undressed if they need it. The worst thing you want to do is take away their independence. If they're capable of getting undressed, let them do it. Don't take it away from them, because if you help them too often, they will forget how to do it, and then one day it'll be, I don't know how to get undressed, I need you to do it for me. You don't want to do that. There's care, and then there's caring too much to the point where you take their independence away. So she couldn't undress herself on her own. She needed assistance. And instead of him getting her consent to do that, he just started getting her undressed. This is somebody who just started to get dementia. And she hated men because it was a man who abused her, which makes sense. But she got really angry that he tried to undress her without her consent. And obviously during COVID times he had gloves on, and she has a thing about gloves. She hates the feel of them. Um, they scare her, and it got to the point where she was so scared she defended herself. She punched him in the eye, gave him a black eye, and a cut lip, which was not very nice on his part. He tried to sue the care home for him being injured, but they they were both to blame. In my opinion, I think the home was to blame for not telling him the crucial thing that he needed to be told. She can't have the door closed. She was abused as a child by a man who used to close the door, and you know the rest. She hates men because it was a man who abused her as a kid. She can't have a man in the room, has to be women. They're to blame for not telling him that bit. But for him to not ask consent to help her get undressed for her bath was the wrong part on him. Because, especially with someone who's got dementia, if they can't get unchanged or get changed on their own, they need assistance because they lack that mental capacity and they need a bit of assistance. All you've got to do, I'll just say a name random, for example. You just have to say, right, Shirley, it's bedtime. You're wanting to go to bed, aren't you? And she will respond with, I don't know, yes, I'm ready for bed now, dear. Right. Are you able to get your pajamas on, or are you going to need some help? And if she says, I need help getting my pajamas on, you just say, right, I'm going to take your top off. Is that okay with you? And you have to put it in a simple way and you have to go at their pace, at their level. Because if you speak too fast or say too much, they get confused and they can't remember what's going on. And when they get confused, they get agitated, they get stressed, and then they don't want to communicate. And then by the time you are wanting to try again to help them, they're not interested because they're just frustrated and they're not going to be interested. So, you know, that's it was they're both to blame. And that scenario that I've just said, I'm actually afraid to say that it's really common. A lot. There's been a lot of situations where agencies are coming into a home they don't know because they've not worked at it before. They don't know who's who, what room they're in, and there's a lot of occasions where they're just not told a thing. Then they're not warned about anything. And the last situation, I'm going to finally say a couple of things that happened to me and what I went through. You guys know that I don't work at a care home anymore. And I'm finally ready to tell you why. I think you all knew that my story was coming up, and I'm finally ready to talk about it. So grab yourselves a cup of coffee, cup of tea, get something to eat, sit and chill because this is going to be a long video. But I knew this anyway. So the last thing is talking about me. I have. This has been one of the private matters that it's not that I've not wanted to talk about it and share it with you guys. Trust me, I've wanted to. This is not one of those, oh, it's sitting on views, oh, I'm not going to do that type things. I don't know if this is going to get views or not, but that's not what I'm doing this for. I just want to raise awareness that care homes aren't always as good as you may think they are. So, I'm now going to come out and explain my story and what I went through as a first time ever carer. I'm not going to mention the name of the home, any of the people, because I worked with some amazing people that I bonded with so well. I've made some really good friends, and a lot of me misses working at the place I worked at, but some of me doesn't, and you're about to find out why. Now, I'm not going to beat around the bush any longer. I'm just going to say it as it is. So, I was out of a job for a while, and I was applying for a lot of catering jobs because that was what I wanted to do. And I come across the care home, and I thought I'll just apply. I'll just apply for it. I finished my job search and applying for work, and it was coming on to about 4:30, 5 o'clock, and I thought I'll apply for this care home. It's a training position. I don't think I'll get it though. I've got no experience, never worked in care before, which was true. I hadn't worked in care before. Sorry, this is gonna be quite a hard story. The scenarios I've mentioned did not happen in the home I was at, by the way. They're just scenarios from other homes. The home I was at is still a good home. It's still open and still doing incredible. And it's only been open for coming up to 2 years in December. So that's good. So, I had my interview. It was a phone interview. I loved it. It was amazing. I loved talking to my future boss. She had such a great time chatting with me. It was wonderful. Now, the next thing I'm going to say may or may not shock you, but I had some really good so I had some really good night shifts because that's what I wanted to do. The training I had was incredible. Absolutely, I can't fault any of the training. I loved it. I've never done care before, so for me to have the training I did for the first time doing care was so good. It really helped build up my confidence. And when I got better at what I had learnt in my training, I got more confident. I was able to go in the rooms on my own, and I had some challenging times with certain residents that really challenged and were not difficult on purpose, but were, I don't know how to put it. I had moments where one would be the rudest ever towards me and give me a lot of abuse. But they had dementia and they knew they did wrong because that was really rude, wasn't it? You know not to talk to me like that. You can apologise and it will be, I'm so sorry. And then 2 minutes later, it'll be, do you want a cup of tea? I like a cup of tea. You look lovely today. But 10 minutes later, 10 minutes earlier, it was, you're really ugly. Go and sort yourself out. But then 2 minutes later, it's, you look fresh today. Let's have a cup of tea and a chat. Do you know what I mean? But I had to use the distraction technique quite a lot. I really enjoyed doing that. It was good that they were challenging in that kind of way because it allowed me to put that to the test. I loved the job. It was amazing. We're slowly getting to the reason why I'm not there anymore. It's been a while, but I think now's the right time to come out and say something. Where it's been long enough since I haven't been there, I know I can say something. I am allowed to do that now. I wasn't really allowed before. It was you're not to tell people why. But I'm finally, here I am. So, I had there was this one night shift. I had met some other woman there. She was 19. One of the managers was her auntie, which made the later problem a bit difficult for me, as so many knew there. So this young woman that I met was really lovely, really kind, and was quite out there, quite open, quite honest. I thought I love that about that person. When I get to know someone, I can be quite open and honest and a little bit out there, probably a bit too much. But when you get to know me, I come out of my shell a bit more and you see a bit more of me. When I meet you for the first time, I'm quiet, I'm shy, and I don't really say much because I don't know you well enough to know how far I can push things. Not push things, but whether I'm crossing the line or not. Can I get away with it? Can I not? I know people make a joke all the time about, 19-year-olds today, they get offended by everything. And I thought, that's a bit harsh. I'm not sure they all do. This particular 19-year-old did. She was talking to me about coming out the wardrobe, the closet, whatever you want to call it, coming out. And I was saying to her, it reminds me of Elton John. He struggled to come out at first, and the response from his mum when he came out was not very nice. And I've got his book, and I really feel him. Honestly, I cried so much when I watched Rocket Man, saw her reaction to him saying that he was gay, and I said, I know a lot of people do struggle to come out, and it is sad, and I wish more people who are going to come out are, feel very happy and confident to say, this is who I am, and have people accept them for being that. And I said, I know it's not easy for some people, and I nearly got emotional about it, And so she said, right, well, you're a bit open and honest with that, aren't you? I said, well, I get the struggle. I have friends that came out, and they didn't one friend told me before telling everyone else, and I was so proud of them, and I am very proud of that person. One of my best friends in the whole universe. And I thought, right, so that's the end of that conversation. We were on a break, by the way, and she had said, right, I need to go back upstairs. My break is over. And I said, oh, better go. And then the buzzer went off one of the rooms, so it went off. It was just for a resident who needed help going to the toilet, and that's an easy one. You can do that. So I did that, and then I went back to do some more of my notes. There was another carer, but she was in another room at the time, so I had to stop my notes and go off, and I'm happy to stop my notes to help another carer if they need it, or help a resident go back to my notes. As long as I've saved where I am, it will keep where I was with me doing my notes anyway. So it wasn't that bad. It was alright. So I thought, well, that 19-year-old's really nice. You know, we spoke about coming out, and that was quite a good conversation. And I thought, well, I didn't think anything was going to come of it. I don't think, will something come of that or not? You know, it didn't enter my mind at all. So the next day, I get a phone call, and I look, and, oh, it's my boss. Oh, that's nice. Is this about my shift later? Is it still happening? What's going on? I thought, oh dear. And a phone call, and obviously, like I said at the beginning, one of the managers is an auntie to the 19-year-old, just to remind you all. And my boss had rang me and said about the 19-year-old and said, you were a bit too open and honest last night. I said, oh, was I? I do apologise. I hope I didn't offend anyone. She said, well, I offended the 19-year-old with what I said, and I was so apologetic. I really didn't mean to. I felt so awful. I beat myself up about it, you know, as I do. And I said, you know, I'm really, really sorry. She said, it's fine, just try and be careful what you say. I didn't even realise that what I said was a bad thing. And then I thought in my head, did I offend her? Or is she a snowflake and a typical 19-year-old? Or did I say something that was really that bad? I didn't know what to think at this point. And then she said, oh, by the way, I need to know that things are going to be okay. So you're both working together tomorrow night on the dementia floor, which I said, oh, that'd be fine. You know, tomorrow's a new night. You know, carry on didn't happen. And it was, that's fine, but you know it did happen. I said, and I really am sorry. Well, we will see. You're working with her tomorrow. I thought, no, that's okay. I can do that. And I worked with her the next night. It went well. I just did this and got on with it. I was scared to even say hi. How are you? I was scared at this point. Like, what if asking how they are is bad? I got in such a rut. It got to the point where I was told that I didn't communicate enough, and I got told off for that, and I was like, oh no. So that was not good. And then I thought, right, now I know, because I knew from the get-go that certain people were cliquey. I knew that my old boss had favourites, and I knew I wasn't one of them from the get-go. I thought, oh, I'm gonna get on really well, because when I had my interview we got on so well. I thought, great boss, this is gonna work out. And I thought, right, she's got her favourites and I'm not one of them. There was some other carer that I know wasn't a favourite that felt similar to me. But then I started missing a load of shifts, which, can I tell you right now, was not my fault. I need to say, was not my fault. There was a name on the rotors. I did 2 nights a week, by the way. Not a lot, but the pay was enough to help me get by, which, you know, that's all you really need it for. I started seeing a name on the rotors which read Elsie, and me and a lot of the staff for weeks and weeks and weeks were very confused. Who's this Elsie? We haven't met an Elsie yet. Is it a man or a woman? Because I know some men have been called Elsie. I know that's a thing. Anyway, and we were confused and wondering for ages, when are we going to meet this new person? And they asked me, do you know who it is? And I said, there was no one with that name on my training, I can promise you that now. And it was, are you sure? I'm definitely sure that name was not with us. There was no one with that name with me and the others on our training, I can promise you. So I had a phone call the next day saying, you were voted in for such and such, you didn't turn up, please explain why. And I said, well, I wasn't voted in, my name wasn't on there. And it was, well, your name was on there and we want to know why you didn't show up. And I said, I promise you, if my name was on there, you know I would show up. I wouldn't not show up. And she said, well, you obviously didn't have a look. And I said, I don't have the link to it on my phone to be able to check. I'm looking every time I'm turning up to my shift on the sheet of paper in the nurse's office. And I said, I don't have it on my phone. I was asking every day, I was phoning up to check, when am I next in? I got told 2 weeks ahead. So I did 2 nights a week. So I was told 4 nights for the whole 4 nights. And I had to phone in every week, or well, almost every day, to ask, right, when am I next in? And I'd have to write it down. And sometimes in the mornings I'd get called into a meeting, a progression meeting. Oh, by the way, you're in such and such and such and such. And it's like, whoa, I'm not going to remember that. I used to have to take pictures, and they kept saying they've sent me the email to the link so that I could check when I'm next in. I never received emails. 6 weeks later, I still kept asking for an email. In the end, I said, right, I need to know if it's my end playing up. If so, I need to go into my Gmail and fix whatever problem I might have. I wasn't trying to say they had the problem. I knew they did, but I wasn't going to do a whole, oh, it's your fault. You know, I tried to consider it could have been my end. I knew it wasn't. So in the end, I said, right, can you send me the link in the email in front of me so that I can see that you have actually sent it? Because if you have actually sent it and I'm not receiving it, or something's playing up, then I will know whether it's my end or not. Thinking, if you're definitely saying you've sent it and I'm not receiving it, then I need to know what's wrong so I can work out how to receive it if I'm not receiving it for whatever reason. Soon as they'd done it in front of me, I received it straight away. I thought, that's really odd. I wasn't the only one this happened to, but I'm not talking for others, I'm only talking for me. And then after that had happened, I was told, oh, you know, the boss wants to see you. I thought, okay, no, that's fine. Probably to hear how I think I'm getting on because I'm new and I've just started, blah, blah, blah. Well, it was more for the fact of, we're not happy with you. And I thought, not happy with me? I felt awful. Like, what have I done this time? Where have I gone wrong? In my head, I was panicking, screaming. I got very hot and sweaty. I wanted out of that office. I felt so uncomfortable. And it was, right, there's been loads of night shifts and you've not been to them. Why are you not turning up? And I said, because my name's not been on the rota. And she said, well, there's no excuse. You can check on your phone now. I said, I promise you, I've not seen my name anywhere. So I said, I am so sorry. I can check it on my phone now. I've got a login. I've just set it up whilst waiting before I could come in here. You know, it's all good. I will make sure that I'm checking I said to them, I'm honest with you. If I see my name, I'll turn up. But if my name's not on there, I'm allowed to assume I'm not voted on, right? And my boss said, yes, that's correct. I thought, right, that's fine. I said, but if I've, I am really sorry that this has happened. I felt awful. But then I was called in a few weeks later. I thought, what am I called in for? And it was, we want to see how you think you're getting on. I said, I think I'm doing good. I've still got a lot to learn because I'm new. And she said, we've been told that you're doing really well. You just need to speed up a little bit. You're going a bit too slow. And I said, I'm scared to get it wrong. And I was told, no, that's fine. We understand that you feel like that. That was fine. It went well. I was able to check on my phone when I was next in. When I saw my name on a particular day, I knew, right, that's when I'm rotated in. That's when I go, blah, blah, blah. But then I was called the next day. Oh, you were not the next day. A few weeks later, I was called on the phone. Oh, you were rotated in, you didn't turn up. We're really sorry, but we can't have you here anymore. And I thought, what is going on? So I said I wasn't rotated in. My name wasn't on there. I took screenshots. I sent them to my boss through WhatsApp and email. So that way, if she didn't receive on one platform, she received on another. So I know she received the screenshots, whatever. And she said, your name is on there, I can see it. And I'm saying, but I didn't. The whole time, that Elsie was me. It was a spelling error. And all my boss could do was say, that's a spelling error. I was so sorry. Well, now you know it's you. But, you've missed. And I said, so the whole time it's been a spelling error. And no one thought to tell me. And it's been going on for 2 months. And no one told me. She said, oh, we're so sorry. And still thought it was funny. And I was so frustrated at this point. So I said, well, now you know. And I thought, but my correct spelling of my name is on my CV, all my documents, everything. How do they not know how it's spelt by now? I was so frustrated. And I said, now you know how it's spelled. She said, well, you've missed so many shifts. It's not looking good. You were struggling anyway. We're really sorry, but we're just going to have to let you go. And I said, but I keep asking for help and you keep saying you'll give me the help and it's not happened. She said there was that one night shift you were supposed to get help but you didn't turn up. I said, but I phoned in the night before because I was really poorly. I had some sort of bug or whatever it was, and they understood. She was told. I don't know what that was about. So, and it got to the point where I just said, so I'm no longer working here then. She said, no, we will give you a letter explaining why we've let you go. And then a few weeks after the letter, you'll get your P45. And I said, it was very lovely working for you. I hope you find somebody else that's suitable for the job. And she said, thank you. Good luck. And she said good luck in such a way that she thought I'd need it. Which I didn't really like. And my mental health went downhill, and then I had to cut ties with someone, then it went further downhill, and my mental health has got that bad that I'm now having therapy for it, and I'm having 2-3 months signed off work until I'm mentally ready to work again. It really messed me up, and now you know the reason why I don't work there anymore. I said for ages that I didn't work there anymore, but I never said why. Anyway, I'm going to end it here because my dinner's ready, but I will catch you guys tomorrow. Bye, everybody.